So the first triple header of the 2021 season has finished, and the Austrian Grand Prix was dominated by one man and one man only. So in this little review and report of the Austrian Grand Prix, we'll go over how the race unfolded, a few things we learned, some special mentions, my rating on the race, and what's next on the Formula 1 calendar. So without further ado, let's begin the video. So qualifying left us with a very interesting grid lineup, with no Mercedes in the top 3 on the grid for the first time since the 2017 Singapore Grand Prix. So as the race got underway, the top 5 got away well. They all remained in the same position, despite Lando getting close to Max going into the first corner and Lewis getting close to Perez on the back straight.
Perez heading down to turn 4, is he going to get it done? He's going to go the long way round. Who's going to get the lacquer downforce as they get in there? And Perez making his car as wide as possible. Bottas.
Hamilton these days plays the long game on the opening lap. He knows the race is not won into the first corner and on the opening lap, but it can be lost. So he's very cautious on the opening lap, doesn't like to throw anything away. Esteban Ocon made minimal contact with Giovinazzi at the back of the grid, and unfortunately it broke his suspension and he had to retire. This, however, brought out the safety car. It capped off a miserable couple of weekends in Styria for Esteban Ocon.
And we've got a safety car as
the safety car restart was actually more exciting than the actual start, with Bottas getting the jump on Lewis and Norris running Perez out wide. That was fair and hard racing. He should not have got a penalty for that. It took Perez out of contention, and during all that, Hamilton retook third place from Bottas. I was annoyed that was a penalty. That was good racing.
Onto the green. He's in there, isn't he? He's definitely in there.
Ricardo got a very good start in the midfield, going from 14th to 9th and showing some good pace. As the first stint unfolded, Hamilton was applying great pressure on Lando Norris, but he couldn't get the overtake done. Norris is very fast in a straight line, and he didn't crack under pressure. But while all this is happening, Verstappen is pulling away out front, and he's getting further and further away from Lewis and Lando. On lap 20, Hamilton finally got the overtake done on Norris, but Verstappen was long gone. On lap 31, Bottas and Norris both came into the pits on the same lap, and with Norris's 5-second penalty for the incident with Perez, Bottas easily got the jump on Norris to take a net third position. The lap after that, Hamilton came in to come out in second, and the lap after that, Verstappen came in and retained the lead. Verstappen ended up being a whole 13 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton after the pit stops were done. Perez was involved in another incident at turn 4, this time with Leclerc, and this time Leclerc was on the receiving end of the gravel trap, and unfortunately Perez was given a penalty for this as well.
Perez has a 5-second time penalty for forcing another driver off the track.
It was a battle for 8th, and it was yet again fair and hard racing. Should not have been a penalty. Hamilton was not gaining on Verstappen, and Verstappen was pulling away, and before long Bottas started closing in on Hamilton. Hamilton had damaged his car over curbs and was losing time, and Norris was closing in on the Mercedes pair. So Leclerc caught up to Perez again, and they had another incident, this time Perez forcing Leclerc wide yet again, and unfortunately he picked up yet another 5-second penalty. Although this time round, I think that penalty was just, with Leclerc well and truly alongside Perez in that instance.
Perez loses ground by heading into the gravel.
Hold on, this guy's get out of the way.
Perez has got a 5-second penalty for forcing Charles Leclerc off the track.
Lewis was very slow compared to Lando and Bottas, and was constantly complaining of his tyres and the car's handling. So Mercedes conceded defeat, and after weighing up the pros and cons, decided to let Bottas through into second place. Shortly after, Lando got the overtake done on Lewis, a great move. It had been a fearless drive from Norris, and Lewis pitted at that same lap, all but confirming him to 4th place this afternoon. Max Verstappen had such a big advantage, he was able to pit again for fresh tyres and came out 7 seconds ahead of Bottas in second, to guarantee him the fastest lap and that all-important extra point. Russell was once again so close with points. Today, yet again, wasn't his day. Alonso took that final points position off him in the closing stages. One day it will come for him, I'm sure it will, this season. And then on the final lap, Raikkonen and Vettel had this bizarre coming together, actually quite a big crash. Raikkonen, I think, just was caught napping. Vettel didn't do anything wrong, so that was Raikkonen's fault.
I think Vettel getting involved here as well, and Raikkonen and Russell obviously.
Good friends, former teammates, and they might want to have a little chat about that at the end of this race.
I wonder if Raikkonen's just been caught off guard. I don't think Vettel did anything wrong.
Max Verstappen took his 3rd victory in a row, his 4th in 5 races, and he well and truly deserved it. It was a dominant race, and it extends his championship lead to 32 points over Lewis Hamilton. During the race, we saw some flashes of excitement, but it wasn't exactly a blockbuster race, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. So, on to special mentions, and definitely Lando Norris gets a special mention. What a great drive, what a great weekend. Absolutely fearless, and definitely should be a future world champion, and well-deserved driver of the day. I'm going to give a mention to Esteban Ocon as well. It's been a miserable few weekends for the Frenchman. Hasn't really found any sort of form since signing that 3-year deal. Hadn't scored any points at both the events in Austria, and didn't get out of Q1 in either event either. So he'll be looking to bounce back in Britain. So that was a not so special mention, and here is a special mention for Carlos Sainz, going 50 laps on the hard tyres, starting 9th, finished 5th, outperformed Leclerc again. I thought it was a great drive from the Spaniard, who finished 5th. So what did we learn from the Austrian Grand Prix? Well, Max Verstappen, I'm afraid, looks unstoppable. It should have been 5 wins in a row, but because of Baku it was 4 wins out of 5, 32 points clear in the championship, and who is going to stop him in Britain? That Red Bull just looks so strong, it's got all bases covered. Verstappen is going to be tough to beat. Now going forward, I think, and part of me hopes, that Lando Norris will be a thorn in the side of Red Bull and Mercedes. Hopefully he can regularly challenge those top 4 positions like he did this weekend. So I think this weekend could give him the confidence to do that on a more regular basis. And this race definitely confirmed to us, well, definitely confirmed to me, that AlphaTauri for the moment have the advantage on Alpine and Aston Martin, who both had poor weekends. I think the AlphaTauri, especially with Gasly at the wheel, just looks that little bit sharper, that little bit faster, and it shows in the Constructors' Championship because obviously they've got more points and they just look like a faster package. So what's next on this Formula 1 2021 season? Well, it's the British Grand Prix, 16th to the 18th of July with a full capacity crowd. The F1 game is also being released that weekend, so this is in 2 weeks' time. It's time for Mercedes to reset and hopefully bounce back, and it's time for Verstappen to take stock and celebrate a 32-point lead in the championship. That should be a great race. I can't wait for it, and I can't wait to make some content that weekend as well. So let's look forward to the British Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. First triple header is done. Austria is done. Thank you for watching. You've been watching Mr. Formula 1, and I'll see you at the British Grand Prix.